Martin. Martin.
Hold on. Your audio's not coming in. Maybe it is, and I'm just not seeing it. Hang on. Try again.
Martin. Martin, can you hear me?
I'm not sure, Peter. Keep talking.
I appear to be twitching.
Keep twitching.
Unusual sensation. The chat seems to be saying that we have voice for both of us.
When did you learn how to follow the chat, Peter?
Well, I've been taking lessons.
From...
I'll just stand at the back of the room in the fog. You know, whoever.
I can't believe the headset fits over the hat like that well.
Actually does very well, doesn't it?
Can you show us your t-shirt?
Yes, of course.
Podcast character.
My chest says podcast character. Massive thanks to Shitpost Calligrapher, who did this, and of course Marguerite for everything, and also for organising the shit. Hi everyone, I'm Alasdair. This is Marguerite. How are you?
Okay. There is still an occasional buzz.
Oh, of course there is.
We don't... Put it a little bit further away from your mouth. Folks, these are new headsets to us. Hello, everybody from ArchiveCon. These are new headsets to us, and for some reason, Alasdair's keeps seeming to have this slight buzz issue, and we haven't been able to troubleshoot it yet. Apparently, people can hear you just fine, but we're not sure what's causing the buzz. I have a horrible suspicion it may be that I've put too many things next to too many other things. Ugh.
Is that the technical term?
Yes, the stuff next to the other stuff.
Okay, alright, cool.
Not hearing any buzz? Okay, good. Hopefully this is all coming across for you. Hello! Hi, ArchiveCon! Welcome to Troubleshooting Live and on the Fly. Do you like my little ArchiveCon overlay that I didn't spend the whole day putting together just because I couldn't help myself?
ArchiveCon, la 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 la, ArchiveCon.
Exactly. So, if you missed the introduction, this is going to be fan fiction cold reading with Alasdair. So, our wonderful convention organizer, Imperio, has put together a list of an assorted pile of fan fictions that hit some specific criteria for me, based on length, having Peter in the content, etc., etc. Alasdair has never read these before.
It'll be fine.
So, what we're going to be doing this evening is very similar to what our normal content stream is on Wednesday nights. For folks who don't know, we are on Twitch every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. UK time.
We do three things on this. No, wait, wrong.
Yes, content warning, Peter. Also, this is an Alasdair stream, so content warnings, accents.
And me.
Yes, you. Yes, you very much so. So basically, this is going to be an hour of shenanigans. Just a little basic introduction to what we do. We stream on Wednesday nights. Normally, we do horror fiction, and shenanigans is a feature we put together so that people don't go to bed on nightmare fuel. It's something that can help you laugh and relax and unwind at the end of a stream, and it is frequently fan fiction or Tumblr threads or all sorts of other fun things.
Because it turns out, despite hosting a horror podcast for 15 years, Jesus, the part of
Don't
my
do Mel.
the part of my brain that goes, yeah, that checks out, really likes if the last piece of kind of media I interact with before I go to bed is horror, to go, hey, let's replay that in slow motion. What was that? Did you hear that?
Yes, exactly.
It was a murderer.
He was under the bed.
It's also an alien,
In
possibly
your
a cat
shoe.
boy.
Under
Under the bed.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, shenanigans is nonsensical whatnot. And when we were talking to Imperio about stream content, they were like, you could read some stuff. So this will be Alasdair cold reading fan fiction for all of your fun and enjoyment.
Then who was phone?
There will be so many accents. There's been so many breadlicks composed. Apparently, I was a character in the Cards Against Humanity game that ran earlier today, and I was in your vents shooting your mans or something.
Well, I mean, that
don't
checks
know.
out.
Well, but nobody would see me. You know that. What's the fun of that? I don't know. Was I? I wasn't there. I was giving a PowerPoint presentation on legal stuff.
One.
Oh no. This is Alasdair, can you talk for me a second?
Yeah, of course.
Oh no. They've lost.
Here we go. This is gonna happen like 3 times.
We don't know what's causing it, but for some reason I put the mic a lot further away from your I wonder if can people hear you that way?
Okay, the headset has been powered off and powered back on, which, as we all know, is the great universal cure-all for technology being a dickhead. And I've moved the microphone further away. Could someone indicate whether or not they can hear me? Amazingly, that is much better. Okay.
All right. I don't know what's been going on there. So, yeah, hopefully that's working. We'll just
I also apologize in advance. That will
maybe
happen
you've just
based
taken
on
it
previous.
to 9,000. You're just completely overwhelming the microphone. It can't
Maybe.
take you. It's afraid of your heat.
I mean, who isn't?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's be
Also,
honest.
just to let you know, based on current experience with this, that will happen like twice more.
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, we may have to do little bits of Martin voice tired. Have you tried turning it off?
Have you tried turning it off and on?
Exactly. By the way, it's so delightful to see so many familiar faces
It
here.
is.
It's wonderful. Shiny Opals, please write us more GDPR fanfic, please. Please.
Shiny Opals produces the most extraordinary and legally sound Magnus Archives fanfic.
It makes me so happy. But, okay, let's get to it. It's Wednesday. Let's get dressed. Anyway, so Alasdair's not read any of these in advance. I'm going to give him the link, and he's going to start reading, and then I'm going to try and put the title of the stories up so that we have some good bookmarks as we go along. So, let me feed Alasdair his cue. All right, there's Alasdair's cue. And
Okay.
hold on just a second. Oops, wrong button.
This is going well.
This is not going well at all. Hold on. That's the right button. Can you tilt your camera up a skosh? Beautiful. Lovely. All right. Now I will put titles and things and stuffs together. I know this. We're just watching this all happen live while I'm trying to figure this all out. Would you stop? You're gonna make everybody motion sick. You can you may proceed, sir.
Am I good? Am I clear to engage?
Well, you can start reading. How about that?
Look Who's Inside Again by Magical Ghost 96. Chapter 36. Nightmares and Dreams. Peter dreams. On the days where his and John's sleep schedule don't match, his dreams are blissful. Usually, Peter doesn't remember what he dreamed in the lonely, in the tundra, or in moorland. There was almost never anything significant enough to replay in his subconscious mind, at least most of the time. His dreams as a child consisted of shapes and colors. Sometimes he would replay a day walking around the grounds and surrounding forest. They never had anything special or noteworthy. As an adult, that persisted, albeit when he met Elias and he got the cats. Then Peter started to dream about other things, silly things, stupid things, stuff that made no sense. And when it did, he buried it in the back of his brain, because the reality was that these dreams were pleasant. That in itself was perhaps worse, because sometimes Peter dreams of things that he knows will never happen, that he will never get, because he does not have the option. During those nights, he sees himself and Elias living in a house near a beach. They have their 3 beloved cats with them, and there is a town nearby for Elias to terrorize. Peter doesn't have the tundra, but rather a small ship, and sometimes he takes his husband to just relax on it. In there, he doesn't have to deal with his family, with the Institute, with responsibilities or expectations. He doesn't have to feed Forsaken, and Elias doesn't have to feed Beholding. They are just there, doing their own things, without any pressure from anyone. Peter can be alone, but he can still have Elias and the cats. He doesn't have to die if he stays for too long. His heart simply won't give out on him for having feelings that go against his God. On mornings, when he wakes up after dreaming all of that, he goes outside to this new, lonely world, and he looks for people to feed Forsaken with. He elects to come back after lunch when Elias is back to work on the computer, and the shorter man won't see him until the late afternoon when he is done for the day. Being stuck together during the whole lockdown, he and his husband basically being under house arrest has meant a very odd and very particular time has ensued in their lives. And he can't say he really hates it. Now, back on track, these dreams leave him feeling an ache for a life that he knows he will never get. Then there are the other ones. Those are the ones that the archivist forces him to relive. Peter tried very hard to forget his childhood. It was, after all, nothing to talk about. Just a bunch of disconnected moments of himself being alone. Yet, regardless of that, there was fear in there. Jonathan made him tell him his life, and now he is forced to relive it, with the Watcher overseeing it as some sort of messed up joke. Peter thought that would be it, that when he slept and John didn't, he would be fine and he would be free of that. And instead, sometimes they chase him. Those fragmented memories that he tried so hard and desperately to forget. The human mind is complex, and regardless of your wishes or supernatural interventions, nightmares can happen anyways, just like with any other person. Picture this. A child walks around the house, silent and quiet. He knows, like any prey animal, that noise will draw attention, and that attention is bad. That if he steps out of line, then one day he will be gone, like everyone else. A child sees those who he calls siblings slowly but surely disappear. One by one they are taken away until he is the only one left. He knows that he will be next if he doesn't behave. So he does. A child finds an injured baby bird and tries to keep it alive. He likes the animal. It's the first creature alive that he feels a connection to. He manages to keep it hidden and safe for a week, before the box where it is hidden disappears from his room, and he finds the small and fragile creature dead in the backyard. He knows he is not that different from the bird. A boy gets his first real hug when his sister is taken away from him. Judith cries and holds him. He is terrified of being found out, but he is also afraid of letting it end. It is the first hug he remembers receiving. It will also be the last until many, many years later. The boy is angry all the time now. He wants an out, but he can't do anything about his situation but conform, so he stays quiet while on the inside he seethes. The boy can't read very well. Words blur on paper, and he thinks he's dumb compared to his cousins. All he knows how to do is disappear, and everyone seems happy enough about it. So he chases that. A teenager sits and tries to focus. Outwards, he looks indifferent. On the inside, he is terrified. He doesn't know this woman's face. He knows who she is supposed to be, but he can't see her face because it just doesn't register. Fog covers it, and he doesn't know what his mother looks like, only knows the tilt of disappointment in her voice that will chase him and follow him through the years. The boy is now a man, and he fears his insignificance, fears that his cousin is doing better than him, that all he has is a position that will be taken away from him at the drop of a hat because he is not as clever, even if he hides it. He failed the ritual. He failed the family. He should have died. Yet he didn't. Peter was forced to spill his life to a man and to be known. He failed to kill his husband. He died. And he came back again. Those dreams leave him sweating cold in bed. Sometimes he turns to his side and watches Elias sleep. He focuses on his breathing, on the way he moves and twitches, on the proof that he was alive. Peter feels like he should finally do it, that he should just kill him. Grab a knife, a pillow, and smother him like this. He wouldn't even have time to react. Then he tries to imagine what it would have been like if Martin did stab Jonah. Where would that leave him? What happens to Peter if Elias is gone? He imagines nothing much, that he would keep on living, keep on existing, but then he thinks of how clogging and painful that would be. How without something to pull him back ashore for a little bit, he would disappear, become a shadow of his previous self. Even the cats wouldn't be enough. They were monsters, yes. Elias would have kept going without him, he knows that. But whatever it is that they have now, whatever their relationship is, it grounds them even just a bit. Enough, just barely enough to be minimally human. The world without Elias. No. No. Peter's world without him would be dreadfully boring and bleak. It would be like going back under a cold veil and never coming out. He takes a breath and he moves closer, and Elias's feet are cold, as usual. And when he manages to move the man to spoon him properly, his grumpy husband grumbles in dreams and starts to snore. Elias lets him manhandle him while sleeping, knows he is safe, which is laughable considering who they are. Peter knows this because the other man is a paranoid mess, and he has seen him wake up to the sound of the cats dropping something in the living room. Peter could choke him to death with that trust. But the truth is he doesn't want to. Not anymore. He thought he did, but at this rate, after staying together for so long, he comes to the conclusion that he won't be able to. So he sighs in resignation. I love you. The empty room says nothing. Elias kicks in dreams and says something about stupid sewing lessons. Kissing the top of his head, he nozzles him and relaxes. That night, he dreams of their first honeymoon in Greece. There are giant cats, and the Pina Colada song is on repeat in the background. Elias keeps telling him about how investing in secret rooms for the Institute would be profitable in the future. The water is green, Simon is making a giant sandcastle a bit away from them, and Peter is drinking pink lemonade with a silly straw. The clouds look like eyes and ships, and sometimes he sees tiny hearts floating around. In the morning, he wakes up laughing like an idiot, and Elias elbows him to shut up and let him sleep. Yeah, his dreams aren't all bad. In fact, he can have some really good ones. And you know what? Sometimes reality can be just as nice.
That is absolutely lovely.
Isn't it great?
That is wonderful. That's yay! That was so wonderful. Magical Ghost, I'm so glad you're here with us to hear that. Oh, that was so nice, you ham.
It's called acting, darling.
Acting darling.
Acting, darling. Magical Ghost, that is so good. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Well done, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's pick something.
Okay, good night, everybody.
No. Let's. I'm gonna try to pick something emotionally a little tonally different to try to change things up. Wendy, I see you're just talking to our. Okay, while I queue up Alasdair's next door, can we all give some love to Wendy in our chat, please? Wendy, our wonderful moderator, who is holding down the
Wendells.
Wendells, I see your question in the Discord, and the short answer is yes. We will be prompting you folks to let us know how we can contact you. Since this is on Twitch, there will be VOD, so these will be preserved for posterity. Please feel free to make clips and share them and all of that good stuff. Chunkus is not with us this evening. Chunkus is in the refrigerator doing chungoid things.
Playing
folks.
Nintendo.
Why don't you explain Chungus while I go about my day?
Okay, Chungus, for those of you who are new to the stream, is our sourdough starter. He's almost 2, which means any second now he's going to start wandering around the house gurgling, "I am so great," with a pot on his head, banging it. We started him 2 years ago, and we instantly decided, obviously, I mean, he looks like a Chungus. He was started at least partially in response to A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, the superb book by T. Kingfisher that we were reading on stream at the time. And Wendy and several other incredibly talented individuals have costumed him a lot. Last Christmas, I believe, we did a Christmas Carol, and he had a different costume for each installment. He has a cowboy hat. He has...
if you look over Alasdair's shoulder, you will see that our little... That's Chunkus's Beeps hat, wearing Chunkus's cowboy hat in the background. In fact, I think I will just... Please... Don't pay any attention to my yoga pants. Ta-da! Chunkus says Beeps.
Sheriff Beeps, y'all.
Sheriff Beeps. Woo-woo! And this is another little lovely
Thank you, Wendy. Chungus actually has a bio now.
Yes, Chungus has a bio, and his wardrobe has not been updated in quite some time. But welcome to the wonderful wide world of our chat.
Also, brilliantly, I believe it was the last RQGG where the Pets of Rusty Quill segment was done, and Chungus was included in it, and briefly traumatized several people who were worried he was the jar of ashes of a deceased and beloved pet. And it had to be explained that no, in fact, he's just, bacterial cultures.
There is a wonderful Martin Blackwood outfit and a wonderful Peter Lucas outfit.
Including the not tea.
Exactly. And if briefly, just a reminder about our music at the top of the stream, we've done a lovely little fan video of that to one of Shiny Opal's, I believe, not tea fanfics as well.
Yes.
All right, I have sent you your next prompt. Are you ready to go?
I am.
Next up, we have Hold My Beer, Dear, by Talking for the One and Only.
Oh, I sense accents.
I will... Okay, content warning, accents. Just to warn everybody.
Also, warnings apparently about mentions of blood at the beginning and during the fic.
Great.
Hold my beer, dear. John stumbles and his arm hits the wall. He can this is by talking for the one and only, by the way. He can barely register the pain with all his nerves already alight with searing agony. John screams out, even though his throat burns with each breath. He runs, even though he can't see through his tears. He just has to keep going. John runs into a large street and he yells for help. He hopes for anyone to hear. His gran, strangers, the police, just anyone. Please, anyone. It's so early in the morning, there's not a car on the road and the street is desolate. John continues to run down the sidewalk and yells for help, but all he can hear are the echoes of his voice and the taps of his feet on the pavement. Peter. Why are we here, of all places? Elias asks, looking around the crowd. Really, what a sight. A Lucas in a crowd of people. He can see Mordecai rolling in his grave. Business deal. I couldn't choose the location, Peter grumbles, trying to keep his head down. Peter is using his size to force the crowd to part for him, and Peter is being very successful. I assume they know of your proclivity for quiet locations? Elias asked, even though he knew the answer. It always irritated Peter when Elias talked to him while they were walking. I'm surprised you came. I thought you would have been focused on your pet project. Ah, yes. Gertrude. Well, she's become less stable with time, and I've been having to look for a replacement. Elias sighed. It was going to take some effort to find a person that wouldn't be killed immediately, and yet was also susceptible to Elias's manipulations. They turned off the street, and they went into a crowded bar. Elias personally felt in his element, watching the patrons inside. The simple way of putting it was that people watching was something of a hobby for Elias Bouchard, even before the eye. Unsurprisingly, it was a hobby his God encouraged. Peter walked off to his business without so much as a grunt to say goodbye. Elias took that to mean he would be on his own for a bit. Well, was it a bar? So what is one to do but drink? The bar had glass shelves from the ground to ceiling, and the bartender was cleaning a glass with a cloth. Elias took a stool and coughed to get the young man's attention. Gin and tonic. 200 years, and he could still order one of his favourites. Truly, some things never changed. Elias watched the other patrons with interest, but quickly bored when he realized none had a statement. The only really interesting person was the wealthy businessman that had committed several accounts of white-collar crime. Elias would have been mildly curious to talk with him, but Peter happened to be meeting with that man already. It wasn't too soon when he saw Peter grimly moving through the loud, crowded bar. Elias noticed Peter had a drink in hand. I didn't take you for liking beer, Elias asked. Hold this, Peter said, forcing Elias to hold his beer. What? He asked, looking up just in time to see his husband disappear into fog. Where are you going? Peter was still walking through a dull contract when he noticed a familiar feeling. It was a whiff of fog and a faint smell of death. It was an aroma that lingered in the air any time he sacrificed a person to the lonely. Since Hightower was still rambling about monthly quotas, Peter took a moment to look in the lonely when he heard it. It was a young boy, yelling for help. Interesting. The moment the meeting ended, Peter stood up and excused himself. Finding Elias wasn't hard, and Peter really just had to look for which room had the most people, because of course Elias would be sitting there. Elias smiled smugly at him and asked about the drink in Peter's hand. Peter pushed it into his husband's hand before taking off. Elias seemed ready to ask another one of his questions, but the fog swallowed Peter too quickly. Finally, taking a breath, Peter relaxed for the first time since leaving the house. It was all perfect except for the screaming in the distance. Following the sound, Peter went out into the street, and he found a small boy, bloodied and in torn clothes. When he spotted Peter, the kid ran at him with a surprising amount of speed, and before Peter could move, there were two small hands grabbing his coat, asking a barrage of questions, and begging for help. Peter was honestly surprised that the child was still alive. The lonely ate children faster than adults, with there being less lonely memories to feed on, but here, this kid was still alive. Peter smiled at the boy and patted him on the head. "Follow me. I'll help you out of here." Elias had been waiting for an hour. Really, Peter, he could have at least explained himself before taking off like that. Elias felt his phone buzz. Turning it on, he found a text message reading, "In the car. Where are you?" "Peter," Elias sighed, paying for his drinks. When he finally got to the car, Elias noticed something. Peter was in the back seat, for one. Elias opened the door, and he spotted a second strange detail. "Peter, who is this child in our car?" The person in question was ruining Elias's, well, technically Peter's seats with blood. "Can I keep him?" Peter asked. Elias slammed the door, making sure they didn't have this conversation with passers-by listening. "No, you cannot. Put him back where you found him," Elias ordered. "He doesn't have any guardians. He's going to die in the lonely anyway," Peter argued. Elias turned his eyes on the child and carelessly looked into his mind. With all the gracefulness of kicking down a door, Elias couldn't put in the energy to be more subtle as he looked through the John's memories. Very quickly, Elias found a promising lad that had no connections left and an affinity for knowledge. In addition, he had survived being marked by both the lonely and the web, which is an impressive resume in Elias's opinion. In addition, as Peter mentioned, Jonathan had recently lost his last guardian to the web. Fine. "Jonathan, I am not in the business of kidnapping. Your choice is adoption or us. Would you be interested in joining us, at least for now?" "I'd rather go to the cops and wait for my gran," John asked. He looked on the verge of tears. It was an unsurprising reaction, but Elias doubted the child had any energy left. Everything in his posture was tired. Still, Elias started the car and went to the police station. He dropped Jonathan off and got back into the car with a very huffy Peter. "Why did you return him?" "Peter, you're rich. Just adopt him when his relatives refuse to take him in." Peter's eyes lit up at the ingenious plan.
I like that. Very sweet. Can I
Worst
keep
murder dads ever.
him? Put him back. Put him back.
Can we keep him? Oh,
No, you
his
may
mom
not.
said he could stay.
You'd be a terrible father.
Put the child down. You're short, you're ugly, and you're a terrible burden on your poor mother. Okay, what do we got?
I'm scrolling. Hold on. I have to find the next one.
Peter seeing a child. Oh, it's free real estate. Good-o.
Right?
I might put my shed in there.
No, you may not. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure I have the titles for these.
I love Peter, you're rich. Delivered. I read that very much in my mind at the same tone as Percy, who's queen?
Yes, right? Exactly. Okay, so I think this is correct. Here's our next one.
Ba-bum-ba-dum-bum-bum. Oi.
Hang on. I'm trying to get organized because I have to get the names of this. All right. Second. Quick, vamp!
In car, where are you?
In car, where are you? Yes, exactly.
I love the offhand bitchiness of these two terrible old men. Hold my drink. Why aren't you in the car? Oh, fuck off.
Right. Exactly. All right, you
Just
ready for the...
adopt the child when his prole relatives let him down, as they always do, Peter.
Just buy one, Peter. What can it cost?
Come,
$10?
come along, we'll be late to hunting the homeless for sport. For God's sake.
Would you tilt your camera down just a skosh? There you are. I want to see your lovely, lovely face. All right. You have a new one? We're ready?
Do we have the credits for it?
Yes, I'm ready. You...
Great, let's do the thing.
This
Or I
is...
read the words that are good.
This is Subtext by Why Not Fly, and I will put a link to this in the chat.
Peter knows all of Elias's sighs. He likes to collect them, keep them on shelves in his mind to be taken down and admired when he is away on long trips at sea. There's the short, sharp, I'm about to correct you, because what you just said is wrong, sigh. There is the tired but affectionate, I am pretending to complain, but please don't stop, Peter, sigh. There is the deep, genuine, if I have to explain this simple concept again, I am going to beat you to death with a pipe, sigh, that usually comes with closed eyes and a scrunched brow. And of course, Peter's personal favourite, the I hate everyone in the world right now, apart from you, sigh. The sigh Elias gives him now is, oh, well, it's a doozy. Somewhere between the classic, get the hell out of my institute, I'm trying to do my job, and the more favourable, if I don't talk to a genuine adult about my frustrations soon, I am going to have an aneurysm. In Peter's experience, he only counts as an adult in Elias's book about 60% of the time, but it's a risk he's willing to take. Oh, what's wrong, darling? Peter lets his fog trail off behind him as he steps fully into Elias's office and runs a soothing hand along his husband's shoulder blades. Elias fiddles with the papers on his desk, but he leans back into Peter's hand, so he can't be too upset about the interruption. Elias closes his eyes, and for a vulnerable second he looks almost as exhausted as that mess of an archivist of his. Peter makes a mental note to buy him some of those fancy floral face creams he's been seeing so many adverts for. Maybe one that smells like dahlias or something. He'll ask a shop girl which one's best. They're bound to know. Now is a really bad time, Peter, Elias says. Really? I recall you saying the same thing the third time I proposed to you, but we still made it work, didn't we? Elias snorts out a breath that is almost a laugh, and Peter grins as brightly as he can, situating his smiling face in front of Elias's eyes just as he opens them. There we are. That's better. Now, go on. Tell me what's wrong. Is it that same... what was it? Scheduling snafu from last week? No. The meeting with the accounting firm that overlapped with the auditors? No, luckily that particular disaster is behind me. Elias pushes 2 fingers into the space between his eyebrows, and that means headache. On his way out, Peter will send in Rosie with a glass of water. Elias forgets things like hydration terribly easily. He's got so much on his shoulders. Speaking of, Peter slides his hand up Elias's back to his shoulder and steps around behind him. Slowly, he presses his thumbs deep into the muscles of Elias's back and begins to give him a massage. When he...
Real quick, it looks like your headset needs to be reset again. Apologies, everybody. Technical difficulties. I think it's just the force of your performance. I'm not sure what's going on. Test 1, 2?
The meeting with the accounting firm that overlapped with the auditors? Did that come through okay? Groovy, thank you. No. Luckily, that particular disaster is behind me. Elias pushes 2 fingers into the space between his eyebrows, and that means headache. On his way out, Peter will send in Rosie with a glass of water. Elias forgets things like hydration frightfully easily. He's got too much on his shoulders. Speaking of, Peter slides his hand up Elias's back to his shoulder and steps around behind him. Slowly, he presses his thumbs deep into the muscles of Elias's back and begins to give him a massage. When he slides his hands up and works at the back of Elias's neck, he's rewarded with a breathy little sigh that is almost a moan. It says, "What would I do without you?" and it keeps Peter warm on his long, cold journeys. What is it then? Because your shoulders are quite unhappy. It's Melanie. Elias leans back into Peter's hands and drops his chin to his chest, letting out all his breath in one huge exhalation of, "I work with literal children." The new girl. Elias nods loosely. She's on her way here now to murder me. Peter's hands stop moving for a second before he regains his composure. I guess I can see why it might be a bad time for my visit. Unfortunately. Would you like me to come back after you're dead, then? Peter leans forward and kisses the top of Elias's ear. This time Elias laughs genuinely, and beneath Peter's hands a bit of the tension spills away. I wasn't planning on letting her succeed. Oh, you are a cruel boss, and after she worked so hard. Maybe I'd be more inclined to if she had. Her methods are frightfully incompetent. Elias shrugs Peter's hands off his shoulders so that he can swivel his chair around to face his husband completely. Sleeping pills. In a coffee. Peter lays a hand over his chest and gasps in mock horror. No, they're not even fully dissolved. Well, Peter runs a hand through Elias's hair, scratching lightly at the base of his skull. That is frankly insulting. Would you like me to jewel her in your honor? People do still jewel, right? Elias hides his smile by turning his face into Peter's arm and kissing him on the wrist. You really ought to spend less time on that ship of yours. But if I did, would you miss me? Fair point, Captain Lucas. Fair point. Elias guides Peter's hand off his head and interlaces their fingers, dropping their joined hands into his lap. But I still think my aggrieved husband with a pistol is more of a third strike kind of punishment. Well, I'm here when you need me. Elias looks up at Peter with a soft kind of smile, and then his eyes get distant and Peter knows he's looking somewhere else. He comes back with a bit of curse and a loose, tired sigh that tells Peter Melanie is down the hall. I'll be out of your hair then. Peter leans down and presses a quick kiss to Elias's lips. Could use lip balm. They might have some at the same place that carries the fancy face cream. Worth checking. Please don't kill the children while I'm gone. I'll do my best, Elias says and lets out a tiny sigh through his nose. It is soft and it is yearning, and it says, I wish you could stay. Peter wraps it up, memorizes it, and tucks it away for another time.
That was delightful. Oh, positively lovely.
Oh, the murder husbands.
Oh, they're so sweet. Well done, Fly. That was excellently done. Oh, why don't you get a little bit of tea? And I think I want to keep to time because I don't want to interfere with other people's panels, but I think we might have time for one more. So give me a moment to pick a good finishing one. Let's see.
I love the children. Oh,
don't murder
mortals.
The children. Let's see. I gotta skim all of these. All right, let's try this one. We'll do
what?
one more. This might be a good opportunity for you to turn off and turn on your mic just as a reset.
Yes, it
Okay. All right, hang on a second. Let me prep the title here. Because I didn't have time to pick these all in advance, so I'm doing this all on the
Make 'em
fly.
laugh, make 'em laugh.
Yep. All right, where is it? Where is it?
God, that's going to be clipped so hard. Zolier, if you're in the chat, the Whistle of Power returns. And thank you.
What was that?
The Whistle of Power.
Yay!
Joe will not blow on the chat because, summon.
I'm almost there. Oop, hold on. Nope, cheating.
How is that
really
cheating?
Do this faster. It's okay. Not like I've been in meetings all day and I'm tired now. I can do this. We're almost there. I want them to be very nice VODs for people in the future. So
That's really smart. Good point.
all right. So this is going to be Poppy Seeds by Ness. So if you would start with the title, please, that would be lovely.
Poppy Seeds by Ness. Peter is in his quarters when he gets the call. The night is biting cold and unyieldingly dark. He doesn't bother wandering outside to stare at the stars and the swallowing pedestrian void where the moon has turned away. For one, he doesn't need to see the horizon to know his sharp, blissful isolation. For another, he's not interested in the off chance of finding someone shuffling around on the docks this time of night. And for yet another, he is tired. It's unpleasantly cold, even for him, and he's not really feeling introspective right now. And maybe he's had his fill of philosophically staring at the sky. He always has plenty of time to, and it's long since past the facade of significance. That's more than he can say for phone calls, and far more than he can say for calls from a certain Elias Bouchard. Peter, Elias says too brightly, and even through the phone Peter can practically smell the alcohol on him. How are you? Peter would normally feign politeness, even for Elias, if only on reflex. But he's already out of patience. What do you want, Elias? Can't I call you up on occasion, old friend? And oh, he is drunk, the bastard. Check in, as it were. Elias, Peter says, hoping the curtness in his voice sticks. Say something worthwhile and do it quickly. Peter, Elias says in that pathetic way he's somehow capable of, in spite of it all, full of something that would be need or affection, but is only emphasis from him. Well, perhaps a strange sort of significance, too, and Peter hates how much he pays attention to it. In spite of it all. Peter, Elias says again, are you busy by any chance? Yes, Peter says. Oh, Elias is pouting, which is never a good look for him, even over the phone. I wanted to stop by. It's been 3 years, Elias, Peter says, like it means anything, like it's not the point of the arrangement they share. Mostly he hopes it reminds Elias what is and isn't part of that arrangement. Or rather, isn't supposed to be, and is a very irritating breach of contract to indulge. Unprofessional of you, a voice in Peter's head says, and he's not quite sure which one of them it's supposed to be chiding. Well, Elias slurs, right now, in this particular moment, it's very cold. No. That little Elias, Peter says evenly. Where are you? Hmm? Where are you right now? Where are you? Peter says. Oh, oh. Is it possible for a knock to be smug? Because against all odds, this one certainly is. Peter curses. Elias Bouchard, I will end you. Elias chuckles, also smugly. Peter turns on a light over his bed and pulls on his boots, the phone wedged between his tense shoulder and his equally tense neck. All your foolish notions of immortality, I will end them. Elias laughs. Jonah fucking Magnus. Peter hisses, which elicits a noise in a single sharp laugh before blissful silence. Peter stumbles to the door, but he doesn't open it. I know you're there. I'll save you the extra trouble. Piss off, he snaps. I'm already here, though, aren't I? Elias chirps in a very inebriated sort of way. Waste of a trip, and sincerely not my concern. Piss off, Peter says. No. Bastard, Peter spits. Freeze, then. Elias sniffs. Peter can hear it on the phone that is still on for some reason, but mostly he can picture it. I will. If you'd be so kind, Peter says through gritting teeth. Good. Elias snaps. The door is cold against Peter's hand. He doesn't lower it, though, nor does he retreat back to his bunk like he really should. Instead, he stands there like a fool, and he waits for Elias to do something. He's not sure what, and he's not sure why, and honestly, he's barely certain he even cares. And all Elias does is stand there and breathe like the prick he is. Good night, Elias, Peter says, finally, about to pull away from the door, at long last summoning a well-placed resolve. Well, wait. And Peter is just stupid enough to pause. He feels Elias slump against the door under his palm. Peter, Elias mumbles. What? He snaps, though it lacks the bite he really wishes it had. Peter, Elias says, his tone unnervingly soft. Open the door. No, Peter says. Peter, Elias sounds almost desperate. Peter wants to scoff, except for some reason he can't. No, Peter says, and he knows he's wavering. Peter, Elias whispers. Please? Peter pauses. And what a first. What an absolutely wretched, fascinating first. Peter wants to mock, to derive triumph, to be disgusted. He does none of them. Instead, he stands there for a long moment, and then he presses his head against the door, and he sighs. And the next moment, the door is open. Elias nearly falls through into Peter's coat, but he rights himself just in time, a half smirk on his face. Finally, Elias says, you see reason. Bastard, Peter says into his phone before hanging up and slipping it into his pocket.
You absolute shit.
What?
That was delightful. Oh! Oh my.
Full on eating soup like a bitch.
Eating soup like a bitch, Elias Bouchard.
What a magnificent booty call story that in no way features an actual booty call.
Ah, glorious. A thing of absolute glory. And we are exactly on time.
Oh, nice.
just a moment or two left to thank everybody and wrap it all up. The VODs for this are going to be
amazing.
Delightful. Positively delightful. Thank you.
My God, these bitches gay.
I know, right? So very, very, very wonderful. Thank you, everybody from ArchiveCon, for joining us. I hope you've had a wonderful time. I certainly have.
Thank you so much, folks.
I think we did 3 or 4, and
4.
we got submitted like 8 or 9. So, you know, we might have to do some more of these again in the future. That was okay. I'm so sorry you missed us, Jay, but don't worry. There will be VODs of all of these available in the future. Let's see. That is it for you and I for ArchiveCon for tonight, which is fortunate because it's going to be midnight before terribly much longer.
That's midnight.
So we will probably wrap it up here.
Yeah.
If you like this kind of nonsense, tune in with us on Wednesday nights.
Do we have nonsense for you?
Yeah. Have we got streams for you? And we will be back tomorrow for ArchiveCon, where we've got our wonderful mod Zalia is going to interview the two of us talking about, okay, so can you have a parasocial relationship with yourself? What's it like being people and creators and characters and that all kind of getting all mixed and messy together? And then there is a Q&A session with us as well, where people have been submitting questions, which we will look over in advance and have a lovely rickrolling time answering all of those. Please do feel free to follow the channel. I see all of you joining. Thank you. That's wonderful.
Thank you, folks.
You can get notified when we go live. We stream twice a week. I should probably do this where people can actually see me. There we go. Now you look very short. I look very tall. This is good. This makes me happy. We stream twice a week. Wednesday nights we do spooky fiction and stuff and shenanigans, and then on Sunday mornings UK time we do a real chill kind of gaming stream, which has a lot of bands like this.
And in a few weeks will almost certainly involve an awesome looking cat platforming game.
Yes, we're in the middle of Outer Wilds right now, but we are definitely going to be playing Stray, the Kitty Wanders a Robot Cyberpunk Universe game when that comes out in July. And thank you very, very much to Wendy for moderating this lovely, well-behaved large crowd. We've really enjoyed having you.
Thank you so much, everybody, and thanks, Wendy.
The rest of your convention for the evening time zone, and we will be back tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow, ArchiveCon. We out.